Alright, so we're going to do a brake job on the 4Runner. Now, normally you wouldn't have to pull the rotor off. Toyota's super awesome in the way they do their brakes. And probably some other manufacturers too, but normally to do a brake job, you'd pull this little clip out, it pulls a little out of these pins, then you would slide these pins out, these two pins, and then you can get the brake pads out of the caliper. You take this little spring clippy thing off, which just loops, which just hooks under the pins and keeps pressure on the pads. So once you pull the pins out, this thing comes in, it hooks under this one and under this one. So, but my rotors are warped, so I'm going to be replacing the rotors. So to do that, I have to take the caliper off, which will also involve undoing a brake line, so I will have to bleed the brakes again. So let me get my brake line wrench, and I'll have to undo it here and here and take that little piece off. And I'll see if I have a little rubber cap or something to put on there so I don't drip too much brake fluid. And then we're going to have to take off this big bolt here, right there, and this one right there. And I will probably, I don't know if I might have to, should be able to wiggle the caliper off without undoing anything. Actually, you know what? Yeah. So, let me get this line undone, and then I'll undo those two bolts. We'll slide this off. Nice thing about the unit bearings are that you don't have to repack the bearings or anything to get the rotor off. It just slides off the stud. So once you get the caliper off, the rotor just comes right off. So let me get this line undone, and then we'll get these bolts undone. Alright, so I got a vacuum line cap over that brake line, and got that line off. This just keeps from making a mess. Of course, it made a mess until I got the line off. Get the cap on, but not as big of a mess as it would be. Got those two bolts out. They're 17 millimeter. Now we can ride the caliper off like that. And we'll need to get this thing compressed back down so we can get the new pads in, and then the rotor comes off just like that. And there's my new one, so I'll have to hit this one with some brake cleaner, and we'll have to, like I said, we'll have to compress the pistons in this caliper so we can get the new pads in. Got the new pads over here. Got from Amazon. We'll have to pop those in there. This pad was about gone. I've done one brake job on this. I just put pads in it before. Didn't turn rotors or anything. So let me get that done, and then we'll get it back. Alright, so I've got the caliper compressed. Just used a C-clamp and just, clamped each one to where it pushed the pistons in. So now we got to get the old brake shoes out, which is really easy, and this is kind of the step you would do still on the vehicle if you weren't changing the rotor out. You just, well, I might need a screwdriver to do it. Let's see if I can do it with a wrench. Something. There we go. So that just comes out like that. And you just push these two pins out. spring clip pops up like that. It's just like that, and the pads lift right out. You get these little squeal pads, squeal pads on there. That's it. You just drop the new pads in just like that with the little these on there. Looks like these came with these things made on there. So, alright, let me get the new pads in the caliper. So the caliper is loaded now. Got the pins back in, I cleaned them off and put a little anti-seize on them. Got the brake pads in, sprayed the brake pads with this brake quiet stuff on the back side of them. The brake pads came with the little squeal pads on them. So I will save these. The old ones, see, didn't come with it. I'll save those in case the next brake job they don't come with it. They're actually kind of like glued to the pad. You can see. So all we got to do now is clean off the new rotor, slide it on, and put the caliper back on like we took it off. Alright, so we're done with this side. I got the lines back on, got those two bolts tight, make sure you get them real tight. Double check, make sure your little clip is in real good on the brake line, or on the brake, on the pins, the clip for the pins that hold the brake shoes in. Like I said, I've got the bleeder open, just letting it gravity bleed just a little bit. Shut that off, we're getting brake fluid out now. And we'll just need to bleed the brakes once we get the other side done. I've got the rotor cleaned off with some brake cleaner. And of course, I forgot my spring clip. So, let's put that on there. Laying right there. Why didn't y'all say something? So we'll get that on. But one thing I wanted to mention, these pads are different. You can see one's got this squealer down at the that sticks out further, and that one goes on the inside, so the side of the caliper with the bleeder. So just make sure you do that, because if you put it on this side, it hits, you know, it won't clear this. So let me get the let me get this on there. Can't believe I think it was under something, under my rag. We'll get that on there. And actually, probably if I was doing it again, since you do have to put this on there and it kind of tensions, I would probably put the caliper on without the brake pads in it. Just put the rotor on, put the caliper on, and then load the brake pads in. That's probably a little easier process than putting them on, then put the caliper on. So, because they want to fall through the bottom, and on this, you know, here when you put the pads in, they hit up against the rotor, so that kind of lines them up where they need to be for the pins. So let me get this in. I just have to undo one pin to get this in. Alright, now we are done. I just pulled the top pin out and slipped it in, hook it in the bottom, then push it in, slide the pin in. So now we're done, except for bleeding, and I just need to do the other side. So other side is just like this side, and so we're done for the video. Thanks for watching.